Today, Logitech is debuting its latest top-tier esports-focused gaming peripheral. This is the Pro X 60% keyboard. Making even more room for bigger swipes than the TKL we reviewed last year, the Pro X 60 embraces the compact 60% layout, but adds some speed and some of the most robust customization when it comes to key mapping that I've seen on a gaming keyboard. So at $180 is the new Pro X 60 the go-to standard for esports? Well, let's dive in and check it out. Hey everybody, I'm Jordan with 9 to 5 Toys. First off, let's start with an overview of the new Pro X 60. Like other peripherals in its Pro lineup, Logitech claims to have worked with some of the world's best esports athletes to meet their exact specifications with this new Pro X 60. With a focus on compact, quick performance, it's wireless with Bluetooth or 2.4 GHz wireless, uses optical switches, and can be configured with up to 15 different actions per key. And that is set up through KeyControl, and Logitech is aiming to answer one of the biggest problems when it comes to 60% layout keyboards. Obviously, you're missing a lot of keys that you would get on a full size or even a TKL or even a 75% keyboard. So with these different layering methods within KeyControl, within Logitech G Hub, Logitech is aiming to make this a very capable keyboard despite its small size. So with the standard function buttons, with additional modifiers, and with a G-shift action that can also be assigned to a different Logitech peripheral, like a mouse, there are a lot of different ways you can customize this thing. All right, so first off, let's talk about the design. And I think that there is no way to deny it that the Pro X 60 is a very sleek looking keyboard. It's highly compact with the case extending just beyond the keycaps themselves. I'm happy Logitech kept a clean design aesthetic here rather than adding extra plastic, lines, or shapes that aren't necessary. It's simple and just sleek. Pro X 60 is available in 3 different colors, white, black, and the pink colorway that we have here. It will also come in both a standard and ISO layout, and for some reason Logitech keeps sending me the ISO layout keyboard, so that's what we have here with the funky enter key. As a wireless keyboard, the Pro X 60 has a handy slot on the bottom to hold the small USB receiver. Alternatively, that receiver can be held in the carrying case that comes with this keyboard. Once again, focused on esports, portability is another main feature here. So there is a little USB-A to USB-C adapter. We have a spare escape key that is the same color as this if you don't want the little vanity G logo on here. And it also holds the 6-foot USB-A to USB-C cable as well. So pretty awesome that this is included here, makes it highly portable, easy to take along with you to tournaments. On the left side of the keyboard, Logitech has placed a small volume roller. It's fairly light and smooth and is easy to bump in my opinion. I would have loved to see a little bit more resistance on this roller. And on the right side of the keyboard is a dedicated game mode on-off switch. It takes an intentional movement to activate or deactivate this mode. Game mode will disable Windows key, and other keys can be added to that list of disabled keys through Logitech G Hub. On the front of the keyboard are the power switch, USB-C port, and a dedicated button for Bluetooth and 2.4 GHz wireless connections. And out of the box, the per key RGB is set to a very simple white. One piece of feedback that they heard from a lot of the esports pros that Logitech works with is that the rainbow wave color pattern that is pretty standard on gaming keyboards is too distracting. So Logitech set it by default to just a simple static color, but that is also easy to change if you want. You can see here just by holding function and V, we can cycle through some different colors, and then of course there is a lot more you can set through Logitech G Hub to change that. All right, so let's talk a little bit more about customizing keys and key control. As someone who uses a keyboard at my workstation, which is also my gaming station, 60% keyboards, I appreciate the small form factor, but I haven't really used them very often because when I am doing productivities like, working, editing videos, or working on other projects, I really need at least the arrow keys. And this is some of the feedback that Logitech heard from pro players as well. Why would I use this when even like a 65% keyboard can have arrow keys? So their answer to that was to make a really robust system that makes it very simple to add different modifiers so you can make those arrow keys, navigation keys, media keys, make all of those a lot easier to access. press. So here are a couple examples of how you can use something like that. So one example the Logitech gave in the press briefing, and I actually found myself using with this keyboard, is setting it so that W, A, S, and D are set to a second layer modifier. So basically what you do is you set Alt. When you hold Alt and you push WASD, you can set those to the arrow keys. You know, since I am a gamer and my hand kind of hovers over those keys anyways, so in the productivity setting, if I need arrow keys, they're right under my fingertips. So all I have to do is hold Alt and I have the arrow keys right there. I can let go and then I have, you know, just the normal letters. And that customization also includes, you know, different types of that press. Each button can be configured with, you know, is it making a action when you press it, when you hold it, or when you release it? So another example of that is if you're playing an RPG game, you could have an action that activates your buff when you press it, and then upon release, it activates some of your high power attacks to maximize your efficiency with that buff immediately. And then to take that even a step further, through G-Hub, you can set a G-Shift key that, you know, sets another layer of modifiers on here, but you can set that to a different device. So with something like the Superlight 2, you can set one of the side buttons to a G-Shift modifier on there. So basically, with something like the Alt and then also with that key, you could have two different layers of modifiers that are available without moving your hand anywhere else. So that's Logitech's answer to, you know, the small form factor and trying to get even more, they say it's even more functionality than a full-size keyboard. It kind of depends on how you have this configured and whether or not you like just a dedicated button for each thing, but it does mean that with the variety of modifiers and things you can use to program different buttons on here, it is quite powerful. And another feature here, just like we saw in the Astro A50X with its EQ settings, check out that review up here in the corner, you can share and search for shared profiles as well. So if there is a creator or a professional gamer who has created different profiles for this keyboard for specific games, they can share those presets and you can search for those presets and basically have a starting point and, you know, have something set up where you don't necessarily have to configure everything yourself. You can maybe find something else that some other people are using and adapt that to your style. So I think that's a huge feature. You know, it makes the collaborative process. You can work with other creators and other people in the community to really get something that, you know, is suited exactly to what you want it to be for different games or productivity scenarios. All right, and moving on, let's talk about the build quality of this keyboard. It is $180, so there are definitely more affordable 60% keyboards out there, but this has a lot of features built into it. So how is the build that goes along with that? Logitech has taken some measures to improve the typing sound and feel of the Pro X60. For example, there is a thick custom molded piece of rubber at the bottom of the case and some foam underneath the spacebar. The stabilizers also feel really smooth and sound pretty good, but of course things could be taken a little bit further to improve the feel even more. The Pro X60 lacks any sort of tape or PCB mod to further reduce excessive noise, nor does it have an additional layer of foam between the PCB and the top plate like more premium keyboards. And one other note here, which isn't necessarily the build of the keyboard itself, is it seems like there is a decent amount of stem wobble. And so what that means is it's kind of noisy even when you just move your hand over the keyboard. And one other thing is that it kind of has an audible rattle to it. Not that you would usually shake your keyboard, but it is there. That's something that I didn't even notice on the Logitech TKL, the one that came out last year, or other, you know, more premium keyboards from other competitors like the Corsair K65 Plus. So that is just something notable. Like I find even just moving my hands around on the keyboard, if I am adjusting to a different position with my hands, you do kind of notice that key noise a little bit because something is a little bit loose in there. I believe it is the stem of the switch. So overall, I would say that the build, it's okay. It's not premium, you know, even like the K65 Plus, I do think has a much more robust, more enthusiast, you know, kind of focused build than what the Pro X60 does, but this is still light years better than the Huntsman Mini from Razer. That keyboard felt very light and very chintzy. This at least feels pretty solid, even if it does have some shortcomings when it comes to that different rattling. All right, so let's talk about the switches a little bit. There are two different switches available for the Pro X60. Both are optical. It's Logitech's GX Optical. They have a tactile and also a linear. Both switches have an activation point of 1.8 millimeters and a total travel distance of 4 millimeters. The linears are a little bit lighter with 50 grams of actuation force, where the tactile has 60 grams. And the linear switches feel light and smooth in use, but we already said there is that stem wobble. So that also means that it is a little bit louder than some other premium keyboards, like the Corsair K65 Plus that we recently reviewed. And one interesting thing here is that Logitech doesn't advertise this as swappable or hot swappable, but it is possible to just pop the switches out. But that's not a feature that they're, really looking for the end user to take advantage of. It's more of like a RMA, fix some issues, swap out a misbehaving switch if you have to kind of a thing. So of course it is a wireless keyboard. You can expect up to 65 hours. I believe that it was with RGB turned off or all the way down, so a little bit less than that with the lighting turned all the way up. And wireless keyboards, it might not be necessary for everybody. I do think it is kind of more of a novelty feature when it comes to keyboards, rather than mice that you are moving around more frequently. But there are, situations where that would be beneficial. And since the Pro X60 also has Bluetooth, this is something you could use on the go, not just at a gaming PC. Additionally, it does clean up a workspace or battle station when you have a wireless keyboard and a wireless mouse. And another feature here is that with the single dongle from the Pro X60, you can pair both a mouse like the Superlight 2 and the keyboard to the same dongle, so you just need one. The only downside here is that you will be limiting something like the Superlight 2 to the 1K polling rate of the Pro X60 keyboard. Granted, Logitech mentioned that most of the professional esports athletes that they work with don't even use 2K or 4K polling, they just stick to 1K anyways. And we'll quickly touch on the keycaps. They are double shot PBT, and from what I can tell, they look nice and crisp on here. The legends look good. On the bottom are printed the secondary functions as well, and everything looks nice and crisp on here. It's definitely much better than the misaligned print on the K65 Plus from Corsair. So wrapping this all up, is the Logitech Pro X60 the best 60% keyboard out there? Well, it really depends. If your focus is on top tier esports gameplay and performance, then yes, I think it might be. It's fast, compact, and highly customizable. But if you're on the side of the spectrum that's looking for more of a premium typing sound and feel experience, then out of the box, no, this probably isn't the best out there. And certainly better keyboards could be built to sound and feel better than this one. But that being said, I will be really interested to see what the modding community does with this keyboard once they get their hands on it and, add some different enhancements to it to improve that sound and feel. So really, I think the bottom line here, is if you're looking for a top tier, high performance, 60% wireless gaming keyboard, this is a great option. Everything here has been designed for the competitive edge when gaming. There are plenty of other options out there, even from big brands like Razer, but this combination of features makes the Pro X60 stand out for those who are leaning more towards the competitive side of gameplay. If I was heading towards an FPS tournament, this is the keyboard that I would pack up and take with me, especially in its little perfectly designed carrying case. All right, well, that's gonna do it for this review of the Logitech Pro X60. Let us know what you think about it down in the comments below. And if you're looking for some other videos to watch, I will link to our review of the Corsair K65 Plus, as well as our most recent video. And thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up so others can find it easier, and consider subscribing. This is Jordan with 9to5 Toys.